so. Alright. So, welcome back to Neverwinter. This is a different character than what we were playing earlier. This is my higher level cleric, which I was thinking about doing another episode for this first beta weekend. Also realizing that I hadn't covered some things that would probably be semi-important for those of you interested in the game, like, character progression. So, and the other reason is that, this character is now level 29. We're going to try to get her to 30 so that we can take a look at the Paragon paths and just kind of also show you that the game itself is not entirely just, instanced off dungeon areas, as there are some more open world areas here, which we are in at the moment. So anyway, to kick it off, go to talk about character progression for a little bit. So you probably saw a little bit of this when we were messing around on the rogue, and this is essentially all the skills you'll be getting and at which level. So you have your daily powers over here, all the way up to a Paragon power at level 60. You have your encounter powers in the center here, and then you have your at-will class in general. So at-will stuff is the stuff that goes on your left and right mouse button, no cooldown and all that. And you have your class abilities, and these so far have been essentially, with the exception of Channel Divinity, like Healer's Lore and Holy Fervor are passives. Level 30 Paragon power depends on what Paragon route you take. So, as is obvious, this goes to 60 as opposed to the 20 or 30 that you might expect from Dungeons & Dragons. You'll notice that also abilities appear on there multiple times. That's just giving you a higher rank of the ability. So while it looks like you have a lot of powers, you don't actually have that many. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's count up to 7. So I have 8 encounter powers, and I have to pick 3 to go with. And at the moment I have 3 dailies, of which I picked 2. And the class stuff so far I haven't really had to pick. The at-will, there's only, let's see, we've got 3 of them so far. Anyway, so then if we go to, in general it's just your basic, this is your dodge, your racial bonuses, and the skill, your world skill for what you can interact with in the world. So then at level 30 we will in theory be picking a Paragon path. At the moment there's only one here for the cleric, the Divine Oracle, which you may be familiar to those of you who know 4th edition D&D. Obviously this is beta. This will contain text with a brief yet compelling description of the Divine Oracle. But once you click on it, you can see everything you'll get as a Divine Oracle. So at level 30 you get an at-will power, at 40 you get an encounter, and at 60 you get a daily. And then you get a passive here at 30, 42, and 55. So that kind of gives you an overview of what it is. And there's options for respecs. So I assume that once you've picked picked your Paragon path, if you decide you don't like it, you can always come back here and pay to get it. Looks like it's pay Zen, so that's real money to respec. Again, you could get diamonds and trade them in for Zen, so you could get enough to respec just with the game itself. And you have the feats. The feat respec is, I believe, diamond based. Yep, 1,200 diamonds to respec, which I won't. But these are probably closest to what you might recognize as talent trees from other games, although in this case they aren't really any trees. It's divided into kind of vertical columns here. So you first have access to these 3, then once you put 5 points in, you get access to these, and so on and so forth. And then at 30, we'll be able to pick where to put our next points. And I'm not sure, obviously, yet if these are exclusive. I'm going to imagine that they are. They're calling these Paragon feats. but they don't appear to be tied directly to the Paragon path you take for your powers. And one thing we also didn't talk about was companions. So you get to have a companion that comes along with you, which is basically an NPC pet. You get some customizations. We slot up to 3 rune stones. Lower level companions, for example, have fewer. So you get your first, then you get your second at 5, and you get your third at 15. And that levels of the pet, not you. And then you have 3 item slots for them as well. So with the rune stones, you'll note that if I mouse over it here, it's going to be kind of hard to see on the stream. But there is actually 2 things listed for this empowered runestone. There's a plus 25 maximum hit points, which has a blue icon next to it, and a plus 15 power, which has an orange icon next to it. And the one that it picks when you slot it is related to these brackets here. So this has orange brackets, which means it'll pick the orange power of the runestone you got equipped. Enchanting works the same way. The color of the enchantment slot, I think I have something, yeah, this has a teal colored enchantment slot, so when you slot an enchantment, it will pick the teal-colored enchantment for whatever thing you slot into it. The gear that you equip on these appears to be any kind of gear, whether you, the character, can equip it or not, which is pretty good because you're not going to have caster gear with you if you're a melee, or if for example, this belt is unique to or is specified for the defender warrior or whatever it's called, which obviously I can't equip, but apparently my man-at-arms here can. And looks like so far you can have 3. I got the first one at, I want to say, 12 or 15 for free. These 2 I've just gotten in the last couple of levels, which is why they're much lower. And they only level up while they're summoned. There are 2 other slots here which have padlocks on them. I'm going to guess that you unlock them with cash. And you have 6 idle companion slots. So these I assume you can swap out for ones here. So it looks like a nice system. The only complaint that I have with it is when a character levels up, you have to send them back for training. And that takes a little bit of time. At low levels, it's not a problem. Training level 2 takes, I think, 30 seconds. But for example, my wizard here, training level 15 took him 40 minutes. And you can't have him summoned while he's training. Of course, you can pay diamonds if you want him to train instantly. But it was kind of annoying when I only had 1 companion that I'd kind of have to go without him for, half hour or longer until I got some additional companions. So now that I have more than 1, it's not so bad because I can send him back and I can just pull out another one. They do have some skin options. I'm going to assume they don't do anything now. Oh, I guess they do. He's got a slightly different shirt on.
What is it? What do you want?
It says something every time you summon him, which is kind of annoying. But those have been, I guess, I didn't know I had 2 yet, but that apparently has been unlocking based on the level. So that kind of gives you an overview of most of the leveling process. The other part, if you remember from D&D, is you get to up your main 6 stats. So this is the stats window here, and you'll note that they're set up in columns. There's one here at level 10, one at 20, 30, 40, 50, and 60. And I've gotten to pick 2 points every time. So at level 10 I put 1 into wisdom and 1 into charisma, and at 20 I put 1 into strength and 1 into wisdom. These columns have these will increment automatically, so at level 30 I actually get +1 to everything, and then I'm going to assume that I get another 2 points that I get to spend as I want. And then level 40 and 50 I don't get any bonuses, and at 60 that gives me an automatic +1 to everything. So that'll be familiar to you D&D people. So these stats, of course, are much more in line with D&D. I've only got 21 wisdom, which would seem tiny to people more familiar with MMOs. But where they really seem to get the more MMO flavor is, first of all, in your health. I mean, If you assume that the levels in this game are about 3 levels per D&D level, a level 10 cleric is not going to have 4,000 hit points. That just doesn't happen. So they bump up the numbers here to be more expected for MMO players, and because it just kind of makes it more interesting. My AC is only 18. Again, you'll recognize that from D&D. And then they have all these secondary stats like power, critical strike, armor penetration, recovery, defense, deflect, so on and so forth. These appear to be much more MMO stats. I don't think there's any direct equivalent with 4th edition D&D, and as you notice, the values on these are much higher. For example, I have 532 power, which increases my damage and healing just across the board. But if you mouse over, say, wisdom, it says my 21 wisdom gives me a 11% damage bonus, 11% bonus healing, 11% control bonus, 11% control resist, and then gives me a +1. Or I've got a +1 from buffs and a +4 from features to wisdom. So these appear to give you just across the board percentile buffs as they go up. So gear's pretty simple. You've got your standard, head, armor, brace or arms. This is my main weapon. This is kind of my offhand, which is an icon for clerics. Feet, neck, 2 rings, waist, and apparently I was idle for too long, despite the fact that I was going through the UI. So if you will excuse me for a moment, I will be right back once I log in. Alright, there we go. Sorry about that. I assumed that as long as I was fiddling around in the UI, it wouldn't kick me out. Shows what I know. Anyway, back to gear. So we've got items equipped in these. They have a shirt and a trousers, but I haven't ever gotten any of these. This chain shirt and pants that I've got, which give me +2 to defense each, which isn't much considering my defense right now is 379. I've not gotten any upgrade for, so I don't know if they're supposed to be cosmetic or what's going on with there, because I just haven't ever looted or got any of them from any quests. You do have a cosmetic, so if you want, I don't have any, so she's standing here in her underwear. But if you want head, accessory, upper body, lower body, cosmetic outfit, you can do that as well. And individual things, you can turn off visuals. So I have my helm turned off because it's basically a bucket. You might be able to see. Yeah, see. Not so great. I don't know what it is about fantasy and helmets, but they seem to have a hard time making interesting looking helmets. So I have that turned off. I haven't noticed too much. Interestingly enough, they actually let you turn off the visuals for the amulets and the, I guess not the rings, but the amulet, but I don't have a visual of the amulet. You can apparently change the appearance of things. I can apply the appearance, so if you have something that you want, you can apply a die or another item, and it applies the appearance across. So that appears to be bought with diamonds. Pretty standard, but allows you some nice customization of your character. Anyway, that's more than enough talking from me. Well, I'll kind of go over the cleric, which I know more than I was the rogue thing. So what I've got equipped right now is, on my main attack, is basically just a straight damage. Every third attack, it gives temporary hit points to people within a small area, which is the same temporary hit points you'd expect from D&D. And for those of you more familiar with MMOs, you may think of it as kind of a damage absorption shield a little bit, although at a much smaller level. The right mouse button attack is Astral Seal, which I cast that does damage, but it also buffs the target such that anybody who hits the target is healed, which is quite nice. For my encounters, I've got Divine Glow, which deals damage and reduces the defense of enemies at the target location for 8 seconds. I have Healing Word, which is a heal over time that you can stack up to 3 times. It's got 3 charges before you have to wait for it to come back. If you use a charge, it'll start regenerating that 1 charge. So you can, if you're not casting as often, you don't run out. Then Daunting Light, which is after a brief delay, summons a powerful column of light that burns the targeted area. Now all of these, I'll get into that in a bit. My dailies is Guardian of Faith, which calls down your faithful angel to smite your foe, dealing damage and knocking down the target. And then as it descends, it heals your allies in the area. And then my other daily is Hallowed Ground, which sanctifies the ground around you for 15 seconds. Allies standing in the ground have additional offense and defense stats. And then this is the one that kind of shakes things up a bit, which is Channel Divinity. I hit that, and I essentially go into a different stance, and all of my abilities change. So my left and right mouse button then become, the left button is a constant damaging beam, as long as you hold it down, and the right mouse becomes a constant healing beam, as long as you hold it down. For the encounter abilities, they change based on the ability. So the Divine Glow, which is the armor debuff, deals additional damage, and allies in the glow enhance their damage. The healing ability will now directly heal instead of just being a heal over time. It doesn't consume a charge, and it stacks with the non-divine version. And then the Daunting Light will now instantly strike the location in a larger area rather than being under a delay. Dailies do not appear to have an alternate divine power version. So that's why you see here on the UI the little golden arc with 3 crosses in it. That's the amount of divine power I've got stored up. So using one of my encounter abilities will consume one of the crosses, and then using my left or right mouse button will slowly deplete the bar, and when the bar is depleted, a cross will disappear, and the bar will fill up again. And the bar fills up normally when attacking when you're not in the stance. So I can switch stances here, bar goes blue, switch back. Anyway, that's enough talking. I'm gonna go kill some stuff. And I got a mount, which I do get at level 20. Which is nice. I think you'll find that the cleric is much more punchy than you would expect from an MMO healer. And by punchy, I mean they really kind of blow out the sound effects and particle effects. So I am definitely a very viable solo class with this. The one complaint that I do have is that the direct heal requires you to be able to point at the friendly that you want to heal. And if an enemy's in the way, then it won't target the friendly through the enemy, which becomes annoying. It means it would only heal you instead of healing you and the target, which is probably what you want. Fortunately, that's a lot of the healing for the cleric does seem to come from indirect heals, in terms of that buff, for example, that heals anybody who hits the target. Let's see if I can get this other seal first before going in there. So fortunately, the inability or the difficulty I have, I missed that, with healing allies is a little bit mitigated by the amount of indirect healing that the cleric does just by playing. have my daily all charged up, but I don't have anybody I particularly want to use it on just yet. So this area is open world, so you'll see other players running around. It is still instance, but in the manner of Guild Wars 1 and other more recent MMOs. So you're free to switch instances at any time. Let's see, where does it want me to go? Okay, so we're gonna go to that next, I think. Which is up that way, which means I have to go around, which means you guys get sent. The other thing that I think is a little weird about the cleric is they don't actually have any weapon, unlike the clerics in D&D. All you really have is your holy symbol, and your holy symbol is, well, pretty massive. It's kind of hard to see, I think, because the gloom of the current area that we're in. If we get a good view, I'll show it to you. Yeah, this will be good. So, you may not be able to see it. Let's see if I can do it. So you can see that, oh come on. It's basically twice the size of her head. So even though the main attack here that I'm using with the cleric and the secondary with the right mouse don't appear to be able to be missed, or to be able to miss, and they'll seek their target, the encounter powers that I've got, at least the 1 and the 3, which are AoE places, definitely can miss. Although that's not necessarily because most MMOs that have placing AoEs obviously miss. I should stay still. You'll also find that I completely forget to use my stance changing. Which is probably not the most efficient way to do these. That way and see what's over there, but that looks like further. We'll get there anyway. I can show off my daily. There's a giant angel. There's I think it's a bug. Occasionally, it seems to be usually after I use my angel daily power. The enemies stop taking damage for whatever reason. And it's pretty annoying. You can still buff and debuff them, but you're not doing any damage. As I am level 30, I still have yet to see anything resembling a puzzle game, so I'm hoping, it looks like Cryptic hasn't done any kind of the more puzzly stuff that, say, Dungeons & Dragons Online has done. So I'm going to have to hope that the Foundry has the tools for it, so that users can kind of fill that deficiency. It's actually a pretty cool looking area. game is definitely getting a little harder. I've only been really at risk of death once or twice, and that's definitely been later on. Pretty early on, this cleric is essentially invulnerable in terms of the enemy's not doing a whole lot of damage, and she's able to dish out quite a bit on her own. But lately it's become a little more difficult. I have to pay more attention to my health. You probably can't see on the stream, but I have 60 lesser potions and 79 medium potions, or healing potions. So I'm definitely not in any danger of running out. So it may also be due to the fact that I'm using a slightly different build than I was earlier. Yeah, you're stupid. You're supposed to be on fire. But this build has the AoE debuff, the armor debuff. It used to be, or the one you get first is AoE damage, but it also heals everybody heals any friendly that it hits, which certainly helped keep me and my companion alive pretty well. I haven't seen the wizard, so I have no idea how flashy the spells are. Note that I'm also running this at max detail, so it's probably reasonably scalable. And I think a lot of it is, I don't think the geometry or the particle effects are actually that demanding computationally, but they do a pretty good job of mixing it with sound and camera shake to give it a little more impact. I've just found that the AoE debuff, the debuff is large enough such that it makes the harder enemies, it's an interesting effect, makes harder enemies go down really, really quickly. Another on the list of things that I really hope they've explored the Foundry guys. That's not nice. Tim the wizard is getting killed. Yes, you can name your companions. My wizard is Tim. And this is a case where I want to heal him, and there I think I got slightly around the devil's hitbox. And of course now at the end I realized, oh, I could probably have switched stances and made that even a little easier. And now we get our treasure, which is a ring that we won't be able to use for another 5 levels. The leveling in this game has been pretty quick. I mean, case in point, I'm essentially going to get level 30 before the weekend's out. Admittedly, I played a pretty good chunk of the weekend. That still seems a little fast to me. It's possible they've sped it up for the beta, just in order to get people to test the higher level stuff. But in general, the content has pretty much been staying pace with my leveling. I don't run out of quests, I don't actually end up really ahead of the leveling curve, or ahead of the quest curve. And the gear I get is usually roughly around my level, sometimes a level or 2 above, which is why I was a little surprised that was 5 levels above me, but whatever. So, if the leveling curve is accelerated for the beta, they've apparently adjusted all the content around it to match, so I'm sure we'll find out as we get closer and closer to release. I should probably heal up. And that red pulse that you might be able to see on the screen sometimes is actually one of the essentially talents I took, which means every time I deal a crit, and I'm kind of statting for crit, it heals nearby talents, which is pretty dang convenient. No, it's not the way. Keep going. Upper seals. Ah, I see. Over here. The little golden path wasn't pointing directly at them. You know what? I think I'll show off the hollowed ground one. Pretty cool looking. This increases our attack defense within the golden area here. While I'm at it, I'm going to put Flame Strike there so I can show that too. That one, let's see, raises a column of holy fire that knocks targets upwards and then splashes down in a wider area. I didn't get this access to the second daily until like 18, I believe. So until then, I was pretty much running just with the angel, which is kind of why I haven't messed much with the other dailies yet. It doesn't matter which daily you use, either one will completely empty your action points, which is represented by the D20 there in the middle of the action bar. All in all, so far, I think it's, well, it's not an exact representation of D&D. I do think they've got, it kind of feels like D&D 4th edition. I'm not entirely sure I can put my finger on exactly why. But just kind of in comparison to Dungeons & Dragons Online, which also kind of feels a little bit like D&D 3.5, this kind of has a 4.0 feel. I think in general it's just because the amount of things that you have at your disposal at any one time is rather limited, as evidenced by the fact that I only have access to 8 powers at a time. And in 4th edition, in comparison to 3.5, you don't have nearly the wide amount of spread that you did. In some cases, I mean, obviously a 3.5 warrior didn't do a whole lot except, hit things hard. but you don't have the wide variety of skills that D&D Online has. You know, like sensing traps or... I mean, you sense traps in this game, yes, but like sensing traps in D&D Online was an actual skill you could level up. And let's see. Let's roll for other classes. The nice thing is that if the icon in the middle is red, then it's not for your class. If the icon is gray or colored, you can use it. If there's a lock, then it's for your class, but you're missing one of the requires. In this case, I need to be level 34 before I can equip that item. You don't see it here, but with the outline here, which is green, if there's a yellow outline around that, then the game thinks it's better than what you have equipped. You may or may not agree. I found it to be, reasonably accurate, if not 100, even though it, doesn't always match what I prefer. I'm kind of just reading these silently because I'm trying to go fast, which I suppose doesn't make it terribly interesting. Oh, Adventures pack, so giving me another backpack as a result of... I wonder if this is going to be a dungeon. In which case it may end up being a rather interesting episode. I have done one dungeon on this character, and it was around level 15 to 20-ish. It was reasonably simple, but it was also kind of hilarious because, being beta and there only being really 3 classes available, we ended up with one defensive fighter as our tank, and then 4 clerics. So basically nobody died, ever. Still was a reasonably fun dungeon. One thing that was nice about it is, aside from the quest that sent you in there that would offer you rewards, which most other MMOs do, obviously you get loot off the bosses, which you roll on. And then at the very end, which is something I kind of wish more MMOs did, was there would be a chest that would reward you with something just for you. In my case, I got an extra seal, which is essentially, tokens in other games to buy things with. So it wasn't terribly exciting, but I do know that it can drop class-specific items in there. So that's nice, so that even if you do run the dungeon, you always get something out of it that's potentially useful. Rather than coming away with nothing. And disconnected. Maybe they're just having server problems tonight. Let's try this again. Oh wow. I wonder why it stuck me there. Oh, whatever. I guess we got a bit of a run back. Getting pretty close to 30 though. Only 4 bubbles away or so. Back up on my horse. I don't know why I run everywhere. It's not terribly easy. There do seem to be paths which monsters aren't necessarily sitting on. But even if you try to run through a pack of monsters, they seem to be reasonably good at knocking you off your horse. Either that or I just, suck at it in general. Which is entirely possible. Alright, so this isn't a 5-man, so hopefully this will bump us over to 30, and we'll see the get to mess a little with the Paragon stuff. But it did. I'm just now noticing. I forgot that power assignment that I had done. Rather nice is the mob health bars, which again is not something I don't think you can see on the screen. It's a pretty great detail. But the mob health bars have tick marks. And while I don't think they necessarily indicate, or each tick mark necessarily indicates an exact part of health, you can pretty much assume that something with tick marks in the health bar is going to have a lot more health than something that doesn't. Which is similar to how games like League of Legends shows their health bars, though I don't think quite as accurate. Soldiers, for example, have two tick marks dividing their health, which basically indicates that they aren't essentially minions. I haven't seen anything with 2 tick or a single tick mark, so my best guess is that the 3 tick marks almost kind of indicates a quote-unquote enemy, as opposed to a minion level. That archer there has no tick marks in his health bar, and is essentially trivial. Not that the normal characters are necessarily difficult, especially with this debuff that I've got, but they're definitely just that little bit more powerful. Like an ideal group to try and be different. Red Wizard of Thay. Go. Now that I think I can use. I may keep that in my hotbar, unless I'm going into a group whereby the buffing is more important. I think I'd rather have the giant AoE. Oh, and there are mimics in the game, so every once in a while you will run across a treasure chest, you will try to open it, and then it tries to chew your face off. Which is kind of mean, but you know, it's D&D. There's progress, no? No, I don't. Yeah, I think that's just one of the beta glitches. Occasionally it thinks I haven't finished an area before moving on. Here, and apparently I've hit the 24-hour mark, which this is still weird. The 1500 diamonds, I could swore I got some this morning when I was playing, which is less than 24 hours. So I still don't know. I know it's diminishing returns, but it is not clear. Also the coins, the ones that you lose after 24 or 6 hours, whichever is accurate. Obviously something's rather buggy with them at the moment, because I lost the coin that I had immediately after zoning into a new area. So something is weird. This is pretty darn cool looking. And a little piece of lore. Seems to indicate that I should go down. Set the hour in the clock room. Ow. Oh, here's something I can sparkly. Question is this actually a puzzle? No. It's simply set the hour to pull lever to set hour. Glowing lever is the correct lever. Here I was hoping I'd actually have to think. Can't really fault them for environmental design, though. This is a pretty unique looking area, pretty unique theme, and they've definitely had some really nice stuff. It's just that the actual dungeons themselves don't really pull any tricks. And if you guys remember how frustrated I was with the traps while I was doing the fan-made dungeon, what you were seeing with my thief is essentially what I see with my cleric, which is I don't see things until they get speared by them. However, the one difference that I did notice is that when there are traps in the official content, there is always a way around the trap. So if, for example, you were moving rather slowly and you by chance happened to spot the trap, there's always a way to walk past it, which I was not seeing with the fan-made one. So, you know, just something to take note of if you're making your own stuff. I'd like to at least poke at it. It's kind of cool. But I don't really have any illusions about which anybody would find particularly. Oh! And there's an example. Just got stabbed. And once the trap actually triggers, it stays. Oh wow! Almost. So there's one right there, and you can see I'm basically standing right next to it before I can see it. A thief would get a glow and would see it from further away. But as you notice, there was an empty spot in between them that I could walk through. There's another piece of lore there. Cool thing is, even this far in, I have seen very little bugs, very few bugs. There's missing content. Like, you know, I've seen several icons that are just missing. Most of those are for items that other classes that aren't in the beta would use. So that can easily be fixed. So I don't really consider it that much of a bug. I'm talking cases where like quests break, or you get stuck, or something just doesn't flat out work. I've heard they've had some issues with instance matching, but I didn't run into them myself. And there's a For the arachnophobes out there, you might be happy to know that I really haven't seen that many spiders in the game. The major enemy types so far have been were-rats, undead, orcs, and bandits. Of course, being Forgotten Realms and having the drow and the goddess Lul, you can definitely expect that the spiders will make an appearance in some form or another. Don't just stand there and take it. Oh, there's a summoner. Knock him out. Keep summoning zombies on me. Unfortunately, zombies are pretty slow. And if nothing else, they help build up my action points so I can use my daily abilities. Chest. Let's see if any of these are actually things we want to wear. Those are red. So these may not be visible on the stream just because of the low resolution, but these have a very gold border around it. And gold border around this one, you notice in the tooltip it says recommended, which is the game's looked at what you've got equipped and what the stats are on this one and suggests that this is a better item for you. Thieves' tools to learn the thievery skill for 3 minutes, which is how you can get those items if you don't actually have the requisite skill. Fortunately, the stuff you need to use that are like 15-20 copper a piece, so you guys are going to be standing up here all nice for me. I'll just do that. And this is nature. Got an item for that. With the exception of a couple of secret rooms, the only things I've really been getting as a result of using various skills has been crafting materials, which crafting is not enabled in this build, so I can't really speak on it. Oh crap. That is the first time I've seen one of those. And Tim apparently likes it. Well, that was neat. monster type I hadn't seen before. There. Let's take a look. It's a piece of lore. And that's locked off. Okay. As you can see, there is falling damage in the game. Part of the reason why I took the Wizard as a companion is Ray of Frost is really handy slowing these guys down. Fortunately, he doesn't use it that often. He tends to prefer Magic Missile. But I imagine Ray of Frost is on some sort of internal cooldown. Providing me enough action points to take use the angel. Oh. Which makes that fight a little anticlimactic. But yeah, instant parts like this, dungeons like this, and this gives me a lot of hope for the game in terms of variety. There. Large letters are arranged randomly along the surface of the clockwork box. Continue reading. Finally, gibberish, the word ready is clearly spelled out. Oh. Well, I guess here's our first puzzle, but it's a minor riddle. I am the most ominous and pretentious hour, both the darkest and the lightest, and the greatest of them all. I would say 12, because that's noon and midnight. Answered correctly. Not terribly difficult. Okay, that's a dragon. Here we go. And that's that undead lady from the trailer, I think. And they ran away, which fills me with a bit of sense of relief. Though I think it would be really cool to fight that. It's also a really big dragon. What the hell? The teleporting spider. kill it with fire. That's a big spider. Get the little guys out of the way first. Looks like it. Alright, now the big one. You know what? This will be a pretty good time in just a minute to demonstrate the stance shifting for the spirit with the angel. Stance shifting. Alright, so once they stop taking damage again, shift stance, and zap. See, my remaining attack is now a beam. Now that my energy is out, can't do it anymore. Now you'll see the, oops, I went right into that webbing. Poor Tim got murdered, which isn't terribly surprising. But you can see the yellow bar on the side building up reasonably quickly. So you definitely be using it much more often than I do. And there's no reason you have to stay in stance. You can switch out as soon as you want. Switch and see if I can get myself some damage buff too. Looks like it. Sweet. Touch. Missed. Sorry, there really aren't that many spiders. That's the biggest spider I've seen in the game. And I haven't seen spiders for like 10 levels. Level 30. And dungeon finished. Get an adventurer's pack. Which is good because we are running out of space. 2 slots left there. Now at 30, is there anything we can actually equip that we want to equip? Looks like most of this stuff is set up for 1 level higher. Alright then. Let's get out of here. Before we head back, I should really look at what I got for level 3. If only because that will probably be giving us a new ability that we can try out. So let's take a look. This is bugged. The feat points, it always set, it doesn't go away even once you allocate the feat points. So what do we got? Virtuous Paragon. Virtuous Cleric uses damage-dealing powers to protect and heal allies. Faithful. Faithful Cleric is committed to keeping allies healthy through the use of divine powers. And Righteous. Righteous Cleric is resourceful and tactical, using temporary HP and frequent shifting to increase survivability. So the top level thing for Paragon is Cycle of Change. For every critical heal, you gain percent damage bonus on encounters up to percent something, up to percent. I'm guessing that's a bug. Using an encounter expands the stack. That's kind of cool. So you heal, 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 and then you can hit something really hard. Greater Divine Power for the Faithful. Adds a 4th pit to Divine Power. That's pretty damn useful. Righteous. Sovereign Justice. Attacks against you have a 30% chance to heal you and allies within 25 feet. Can happen once every 15 seconds. That's pretty cool too. I probably shouldn't stress over this too much because I'm betting these characters are wiped at the end of once the game goes live. They're going to try to keep the characters all the way through beta. Let's see. Allies healed by you don't grant combat advantage. Critical damage and healing generates an extra divine power. For 3 seconds after you heal a target from divine mode, that target gains bonus healing from you. When your target is affected by temporary HP, your heals are more effective. When in divine mode, you have a chance to proc Rising Hopes with encounter powers, which grants you 15% more recovery and power for a certain number of seconds. When target has less than 25% health, increases the healing of Soothing Light. Okay, I'm actually going to go with Rising Hope, I think. Why not? In divine mode, you heal a chance to proc Rising Hopes with encounter, which grants more recovery and power. Because that sounds like a nice little damage buff. There we go. Ability up. 6 ability. Oh, right, because we go to our ability attributes. We have 6 points pending. Oh, I see. It's not, you don't really get to allocate them. You just get +1 across the board. Okay. +1 to everything. And quest number 1 away to get the. Oh wait. Oh no. Okay, I was thinking we got under attack. New Paragon path. So we're going to pick the Divine Oracle or the Divine Oracle. I think we're going to take the Divine Oracle. If you cancel, you will not see your rated power window until you choose a Paragon path. Yeah, okay. So we took Divine Oracle, which gives us Foresight. Anticipating what is to come, you receive a 5% less incoming damage. When healing others, you share these visions and temporarily increase their defenses as well, which is nice. And we get an at-will Brand of the Sun. Does it say how much damage our existing one does? Sacred Flame, which is what I've been doing. 199, 227 damage. You draw upon the power of Sun to burn your foe, dealing damage over time. Okay. Well, what if I replace my main one with that? Let's see what that does. Alright. Off we go. Okay, that is definitely something you don't necessarily want on your main attack. Because repeatedly shooting them at people means it doesn't do nearly as much damage. It's kind of slow, and it's definitely designed to tick. So that's something if you want to just which one was I using? I was using Sacred Flame. That's one that I'd put on my right mouse button, but I really like Astral Seal because it heals me when people hit me. Or, sorry, heals me when I hit people. ride by these guys without getting hurt. Oh, there we go. Ow. This is overkill, but if you're wondering where Tim went, he got left behind. He doesn't have his own mount, so he kind of hustles along behind you. Fortunately, your companions can teleport back up to you, so if you get too far away, they teleport to you, which makes it a little better. Alright, I need to go this way. Which is good because they sometimes get stuck on geometry and such. Returning to the Protector's Enclave. So that basically finished up this area, which is good because that nicely ties in with hitting level cap on the beta. So let's clear out our inventory a little. Let's see, which is where the colors around the items is really useful because it kind of helps you figure out what you can sell pretty easily. Alright, back to the Enclave. I think some people there recognized my reference with my wizard named Tim. Somebody did the double face palm at Tim. I admit, I wasn't very creative with naming him, but I wasn't expecting to be able to name him, so I kind of floundered around and went, hey, it's beta, I can be a little silly. Though I suppose a drow named Tim is pretty silly.
Blessings be upon you, traveler.
Companion has been gained enough experience to be sent training. Alright, so there's actually no follow-up quest, so this is probably, I mean, this is, obviously we're not going to be getting any experience, because our experience has been locked down as we're now at 30. But, let me actually quickly show you what I mean with the training. So now that his level is shown as 15 plus, and he's actually level 16, but we have to send him to training, so we can tell him to go train. And it will take him 46 minutes to train. If we want to rush it, in other words, get it instantly, it will cost us 1,239 diamonds, which isn't too bad. I mean, as you saw, you can get 1,200 a day just with the invocation. One thing that is nice, however, is that his timer ticks down while you're offline. So you may, depending on how fast you're leveling, you may just want to send him off and then log off, and do something else for a while. So that's what I'm going to do. He's going to have a whole month to train, as the beta is shutting down tonight, and we'll be back in roughly a month. So I hope you've all enjoyed watching. We'll be back hopefully with beta 2 in a few weeks or a month, however long it is, and we'll go over what's changed, what's better, and everything that's going on. So thank you very much for watching, and have a good day.